Welcome everyone to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. My name is Paul, joined by Adam Camilleri
G'day, everybody.
and Dustin Henshaw.
Hello.
Welcome everyone. This is your weekly live show where we run down the biggest and best tournaments coming up all around the globe for Warhammer 40,000. I'm excited. We got some actual meta stuff, like cutting edge, potentially. Will it be the feast or will it be the flops? We don't know. We're going to run down and see what's up.
Exactly right, and welcome to this one. It's going to be one of the episodes of the year. This is the pre-ultimate WTC episode, so we're going to be doing full coverage of the WTC singles and teams, which is going to be extremely spicy to delve into, boys. Essentially, there is the pre-WTC meta, and then there's the post-WTC meta of 40k, and this is one of the only events outside what Games Workshop does that shapes our impressions of the game.
I'm on location. I'm at Gen Con currently, so I'm going to be dodging this light that it has to light up, or you wouldn't even see me. So pardon me if you're watching this live. If you're listening to us on the podcast aggregators, welcome there as well. But you won't notice the light.
There's no light.
Keep in frame. But I hope everyone is having an amazing day.
We just want to let people know in chat, Paul has been working his butt off for the last 2 days at a convention nonstop for like 12 plus hours. And the mad lad's still butted up to jump on this, what is going to be a pretty extensive, long and crunchy episode of the Meta
Look,
Chasers.
it's been a bit. Thank y'all for your patience with me, and I missed it, but happy to be back. And of course, an episode like this, we want to get our teeth sunk in. So I guess let's go ahead and do it. The first event we're going to be talking about is the Palm Springs Open from Palm Springs in California. 188 players, 6-round event. This was basically brought to us by the attention of a lovely patron, which is something that we appreciate each and every time we get this kind of local perspective.
Yeah, shout out to Carl Norman, who's already in chat. This episode was just going to be WT singles and teams until Kyle literally slapped me in the face with a full stat breakdown for this. It's the only reason we had time to cover this one. So if you're going to this event and you enjoyed this, please go and shake hands, high five Kyle, because he's the reason you guys are getting some coverage this week.
What are we going to see there?
We will be seeing here the Imperial Super Faction. There are 15 Sisters of Battle, 6 Custodes, 2 Admechs, 7 Astra Militarum, 6 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Space Marines are 7 Adeptus Astartes, 6 Dark Angels, 4 Space Wolves, 8 Blood Angels, 1 Death Watch. There's a Death Watch there. 7 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 11 Chaos Space Marines, 7 T-Suns, 6 Death Guard, 9 World Eaters, 8 Demons, and 6 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 6 Necrons, 6 Orcs, 9 Tau, 5 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 11 Tyranids, and 4 G-Stealer Cult. Where did they come from?
I don't know. No idea, mate. Like, I can't explain this.
Before we get too deep into picking our predictions, which we will do in a moment or two, did we reset? Are we resetting now?
Yeah,
we
reset. This is we're into August.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who won last month?
No, he
Paul?
doesn't. He doesn't need to know. It's not important.
I did close the gap, but it was not enough.
And
Thank you.
Still in Eldari, there are 5 Drakari and 6 Eldari. I didn't want to miss those ones. But
So sorry.
Good stuff.
There we are. That means the faction podium is Adeptus Sororitas, the sisters, topping it off with 15. The next closest to them will be Chaos Space Marines and Tyranids at 11, then World Eaters and Tau at 9, Demons and Blood Eaters right behind them with 8, and then T-Suns, Astartes, Black Templar, and Astra Militarum right behind them at 7. That is actually a fantastic spread.
Not a bad spread at all. Bit of a cliff between the sisters and the rest. They've got 4 extra lists, more than anybody else. But it's not extensive, is it? It's not like what we've seen in the past, where there's been like 50% drop off between first place and second place on the faction podium. So relatively healthy over there. Big Astartes numbers. I think there's 32 total Astartes. Then if you add in the rest of the power armor there, this is a power armored meta over at Palm Springs. Add in the all the different Chaos Space Marines, Heretic Astartes, different factions, and the sisters or Adeptus Sororitas. And yeah, it is just power armor 4 days. Delving into things here, very good Tyranid numbers. There is no rhyme or reason why there is 4 Genestealer cults here. Is it the fact that
they all got together? The Legions of the Four-Armed Emperor.
Yeah. So they decided none of them were going to play in Europe this week because there's like none at WTC. And so they all migrated over to California.
Spoiler alert.
I just think they're all role-playing one of the arms is where I was going with that. So they're all
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was much cleverer than what I said.
Wow, yeah, it was actually went over our heads. We didn't even think
It
about
did.
that. Jeez, I'm embarrassed.
I'm delirious over here. That's where the show is
no,
going.
that was on us. That was on us.
I do like that there's a duality here between like the town numbers and the world eaters numbers. So both like aggression and Dakar are taken in equal numbers here. 9 world eaters, 9 Tau. That rubs me the right way. I like that very much. 2 Adeptus Mechanicus. So a lot of people are talking about AdMech being on the rise, but here they've been doubled out by the GSC. What a world.
That's insane.
That is so crazy. Anyway, we have a lot to cover here, so we're just going to move it along. Ranked 3rd in the US West Coast, Forest Phantom is in attendance with his
on the
Space
West
Wolves.
Coast. There's a big Space Wolf representation over there. Talking
Huge.
about with the way that maybe this list. Yeah, you look at the list. I mean, I want no spoilers. We'll hear it in a second, but this is like a common template. And now I'm not saying it's not piloted commonly or it is piloted commonly. I'm saying that this is something that a lot of players that have in that area seem to kind of gravitate towards this style of list where even like from the scene, that area, they say you either are playing it or you have to have an answer for it because you're going to encounter it very often.
Absolutely right. Champions of Russ is the chosen detachment here. I suppose the only real one that's a contender for this style, this archetype, would be to go with Stormlance, but Champions of Russ getting the buffs in the recent balance slate means that they're a lot more palatable. We have Bjorn and Logan on Stormrider. So on the sleigh is Logan. 2 Wolf Lords on Thunderwolves, one which has the Black Death enhancement. 3x5 Assault Intercessor with jump packs, 2x5 Fenrisian Wolves, 2x5 Scouts, the maximum Thunderwolf cap, that being 3x6. 3x5 Wolfen, which is a little bit less than we've seen in previous. I wouldn't have been surprised to see 30 here, but you wouldn't have anywhere near as many utility units. And then a Calidus Assassin to tie it all together. So I do actually like this. So he's taken quite a few less Wolfen in order to pretty much just stack the list with utility. You know, essentially we've got 3 Assault Intercessors. So we got 15, got 7, 8, 9, 10. If you add in the Wolfen, there's 10 utility units that you can all be put out to trade when you don't want to bum rush people with the Thunderwolf cab. We did just lose Paul, by the way. Dustin, what do you think of this list?
Anybody listening to this would not even know that, so I don't know why you'd have to point it out. What the hell?
No. He never learned.
He's still here. What are you talking about? He's right there.
He's sanguinoid back
He's
in. It was a
right there.
When the call is made.
When the call is made. I actually really like the change in this. I don't think the Max Wolfen is better than more utility in Pariah, just because the amount of things that you need to be able to do. Like before, there was only 3 action secondaries. Now there's like 9. So that's important to note when you have a bunch of guys that are going to be in combat all game.
And even more restrictions on those actions too.
Exactly,
So
even more restrictions.
You're real onto something for sure.
No more advancing in action. No more falling back in action. That's a big deal. Like you need these little dinky units. Not even dinky, because they can still do things. You just don't need all of them to commit at the same time with this list.
Yeah. I mean, they still absolutely slap. And the difference between like trying to get 5 Scouts to live through your opponent's turn to score an objective and 5 Wolfen to do it, which are, toughness 5 with a 4 up invulnerable save 6, I feel no pain. It's a lot more likely that they can get into the right position with their increased movement of 8 and, lock down those points, do a containment, do a sabotage, stuff like that. Whereas if you've just slap 5 Scouts out there, your opponent can eat them pretty easily. And still, like, because one of the biggest issues was when this was just a list of Thunderwolf Cav and Wolfen, essentially, if you take care of the Thunderwolf Cav and the Wolfen aren't a unit that threatens you, like in the Space Marines mirror, because like Wolfen into Armor Contempt is not a good, they don't love that because you just take your armor save there in the AP1. So essentially, if you just like contain the Thunderwolf Cav, you've got a pretty easy game. When you have the scoring potential that Forest has put into this list, all of a sudden there's another aspect you have to contain them, the Thunderwolf Cav, while also just not losing on points.
Or maybe even getting past the Thunderwolf Cav.
Correct.
That you're trying to contain to stop them from doing all this
to lock down all the scoring. Exactly right, Paul. Exactly right. Anyway, very good list. Forest will do extremely well at this event. And gents, what would we like for our picks? Brand new month. When I wasn't sure that Paul was going to be able to make the episode, because of course he's the man has no limits. He operates at 11 out of 10. But I had preemptively put Blood Angels in for all the events here. But
it might still be the case. I don't know.
So Dustin is going to pick first because he came last month.
Oh yeah, after winning for 10 months in a row, I guess it was the time I let somebody else win. But
it's 1 month at a time, Dustin.
Anyway,
that's in the past.
In the past doesn't matter anymore. All right. Let me see here. I am actually going to start the month off spicy, and I'm going to pick Tyranids for this one.
Ooh, not a bad call. They're hitting the podium. They're definitely doing very well. Paul, what would you like?
I've got to go with Adeptus. 15 of them playing.
So they got the numbers.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a performing faction.
It's almost 10% of the field.
It is. It'd be wild to not. I'm gonna go. We're all gonna pick from the top 2 spots of the podium because I'm gonna go CSM.
Yeah, I like it.
Not bad.
It is real nice. So next event we're going to be talking about. This is when we start getting into the WTC. This is the singles competition, though. So this is happening over in Belgium. 507 players, 9-round event. This is one of those. This event gets overshadowed by the team coverage of the weekend. And honestly, like there are some countries out there that don't publicize that there's a singles event that people can come and hang out and participate in. But there's a lot of players that do, and a lot of some of the best players in the world can actually compete against each other where they don't normally get to do that because you're only playing in your home country most of the time. So kind of a neat thing, and this is not talked about enough, if you ask me.
Yeah,
exactly right. I think last year they didn't get to 200 players in the War Master singles, so they are like more than doubled the number of players here. In addition, you get to hang out like for the 3 or 4 days afterwards and support your nation, support your national team, spectate, like do as you please. I mean, of course, you can't really interfere, but I do love that WTC is happening, this coming week, and the Olympics are on.
That's awesome.
not far away from where this is happening. Like essentially, it's just over there. It's Europe. It's all close. It's just over there, over the horizon. And so this is awesome to me. I think this is lovely, and I can't wait to see this many people, hanging out, watching, supporting their national teams.
Yeah. So 507 players is going to be interesting to see how this chunks out as far as stats go.
There's 320 players in the teams event, 40 teams of 8. So there is a minimum of 187 extra people playing at this event than there is in the teams. And we know a lot of national teams do not play in the singles. They use that time for more prep against each other or for specialized matchup stuff on the actual WTC tables that are sometimes available for testing. So yeah, there's probably like maybe 200, maybe half of this pool is just people rocking up, wanting to play in an amazing event and check out the Olympics of 40K.
Yeah, it's actually awesome to think about too when you're talking about a lot of the teams that don't actually play in the singles because they use the time to practice. Some of them don't want to give away any of their tech, so they don't want.
They're spicy.
They'd be bringing different lists in there even if they did play, and then other ones require you to play in the singles to get those reps in. So it's really cool to see the dichotomy of what the different countries think is the best way to do it.
I got to say, if you want to earn your way onto your national team, rocking up to this event and taking some big scalps, putting your name out there and just showing people you can contend against the best in the world in a truly international event. There's only a couple of events in the world you can do such a thing. One of them's here, probably LGT, LVO, and the WCW, the World Championships of Warhammer over in Atlanta. Are the places, are the couple of places where you get to go and be like, bam, pick me next year for the WTC because I'm this good. And I love that aspect of this.
Yep,
absolutely right. What are we going to see there?
Let's see what we are going to be seeing there. Out of 507 players, there are 34 Sisters of Battle, 15 Custodes, 10 AdMech, 12 Astra Militarum, 31 Grey Knights, 14 Imperial Knights, Space Marines, there's 9 Adeptus Astartes, 12 Dark Angels, 10 Space Wolves, 40 Blood Angels. Oof! 40! 3 Death Watch, 3 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 21 Chaos Space Marines, 42 T-Suns, 12 Death Guard, 29 World Leaders, 19 Demons, and 22 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 23 Necrons, 10 Orcs, 27 Tau, and 22 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 26 Tyranids and 6 Genestealer Cult. Eldari, there's 10 Drukhari and 23 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is T-Suns, topping it off with 42. I'm not that surprised that in Europe and for WTC, like T-Suns are just
Europe gonna Europe.
Blood Angels next to them with 40 though. My goodness. And then Sisters right behind them, 34, and then Grey Knights at 31, and World Eaters at 29. That's, for the most part, I actually think that is the top 5 factions in the game right now. Aside from World Eaters is, you can't see my hands.
Yeah.
I'm doing the the weighing thing because this is good radio. But the Grey Knights, I do think actually belong up there. They're
100%.
They're a pain. They are a pain to deal with. The other 3, 100%. Like there's no doubt in my mind that T-Suns, Blood Angels, Sisters right now are the top 3 factions in the game right now.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think the Grey Knights is being taken because it is a stat check with flexibility.
Yep.
And it's very rare that we get to say that, put those two words together. And then World Eaters is, I actually cannot really explain that, apart from maybe there's a bunch of players here, like in other events, who want quick games, cold beer, and hanging out with their mates.
That's true.
And they're just here to spectate, get done in 2 or 3 turns, get out of there. But the World Eaters numbers are very impressive. And I'm keen to see if anybody's uncovered some new technology in their lists that lets them really swing up into these other top 4
Forge Fiends.
factions.
They can take Forge Fiends, right?
Forge
Sorry, is that
Fiends.
what you just said too?
Yep, Forge Fiends.
Yeah, they can take
Forge
Forge
Fiends.
Fiends.
Yep.
Hellbrews.
You're exactly right, boys. Forge Fiends. Maybe not Hellbrews. Maybe not. But yeah, very excited to see what occurs there. But outside that, the Blood Angels numbers are absolutely extensive. The fact that Blood Angels, a sub-faction of Astartes, could have been number 1 almost. They're two players short of being number 1 at a 500-player event is astronomical. It just shows the power and the belief behind that. And the fact that Blood Angels and World Eaters are operating in high numbers and both being ultra aggressive, it speaks to the power of the terrain formats we're now using, be it Games Workshop, be it WTC. It really allows these aggressive archetypes, these aggressive play patterns to find a home.
I dig it. The fact that these multiple list types can thrive, the archetypes can thrive, and that we can speak about them at the same level in the same breath is a good state of the game all around. And it does. You're right. It doesn't get there without adopting better functional types of terrain for our game environment.
Well, it's very interesting because Thousand Suns is the shootiest army on this faction podium. Grey Knights is very shooty as well, but Thousand Suns are relatively a short range shooting army for the multitude of the time. I mean, you got Doombolt that essentially is like an 18-inch shooting attack, but there's a lot of flamers there in that list, and then there's just Magnus. Apart from those things, everything else kind of just operates at that 18-inch band or less. Grey Knights are relatively short range as well, and so the shooting assets we're seeing here are fast and they're flexible. And you'll say the same thing about Sisters as well. A vast majority of those, I'm assuming, are Bringers of Flame, which we'll see transposed onto the World Team Championship, where the teams are rocking and rolling. So yeah, it's shooting armies, but are short range and flexible, because that's what you need in Nephilim. Pariah Nexus, my bad. I'm getting my packs.
Nephilim, that's like 2 behind. Whoa.
That's last year. That's this time last year. But yeah,
come back around.
When you look at it like that, I mean, the Sisters pretty much do their best shooting within 12 inches with all their melters and flamers and stuff like that. Grey Knights are the same. They've got a lot of flamers attacking at their 12-inch range bracket. And so you could almost say the best armies in the game operate very tight, very close to each other. And it's very interesting to see this kind of breakdown. I like it a lot. Makes for a very interesting interplay between lists.
It'll be really interesting to watch them on stream too. That makes it even more entertaining.
Which there's going to be 10 streams. 10. That's this many. That's all my fingers.
That's all his fingers.
Of the World Team Championships. I don't know how many they're going to be for the singles, but there's going to be multilingual, different languages, different streams, multi-table coverage. It's going to be stupendous. But let's go and have a look at a couple of the top players in attendance. I believe I've pulled out 2 lists for your viewing pleasure. First of which is the top-ranked player in the ITC in attendance, which is Mr. Kyle Grundy. He's currently ranked 2nd in the world, and he's playing Tau Empire. He is, I believe, one of the coaches for Team England. I'm just going to say, you got the best Tau player in the world, baby. You're not taking him. What's going on? What? No, Kyle's a good mate of mine. I'm just kidding. And England, I like jabbing England every now and then. It's a national pastime.
Anyone but England.
Sorry, international pastime.
Yes.
Callion is his detachment of choice over Montcar and maybe even Ret Cadre, which has been taken here and there. He's got Farsight. So Farsight in Callion, which is very interesting straight off the bat. Cold Star Commander with Exemplar of the Callion and Dark Strider, because that Deep Strike Denial is very key here. 2x10 breaches, we each with an associated Devilfish. 2x3 Fire Knife Crisis teams, which are the plasma ones, and I've denoted it there because I get confused. 10 Pathfinders, 3 Riptides, 2 Skyrays, and the ubiquitous 3x3 pack of stealth suits to make sure everything is operating well. And every time I see one of these lists, I'm like, my lord, that's a lot of list. It's thick. Everything is pretty defensible. Everything, if either you're shooting into something that's high toughness, be it a Devilfish, a crisis suit which is above average, Riptide or Skyray, or you're shooting something that's hard to hit like a stealth suit. And in addition, this is a bit of a tempo game here because it's Callion. It's the scoring and the power is back-ended. So it wants to play kind of a keep away scoring game for the first couple of turns, except for the one crisis unit which will go with the commander, who will start getting their pop off on the Callion, probably off a deep strike or a rapid ingress earlier on in the game. But yeah, Kyle's going to do stupendously well here. Anything interesting you guys are seeing there?
I cannot believe Tau can have this much list in their list.
So much list.
The only beef, remember when the Codex hit was like, oh my goodness, we can't mix weapons anymore. That's all anybody talked about for 2 or 3 weeks. Not like how much stuff you could still, vaporize with it. Yeah,
correct.
Don't need to mix and match weapons when you can just take all of them in different units.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at this like it's a Space Marine list, you've got 2 units of better Space Marines in breaches that go in rhinos. Like you have 2 units of super inceptors in the crisis teams. You've got 3 Riptides, which are kind of like 3 good redemptors. You've got 2 Skyrays, which is essentially like, strap them together. You've got the firepower of a repulsor or a land raider. And then you've got 10 Pathfinders and 3x3 stealth suits, which is essentially like your infiltrators and your scouts. And so it's just really well put together. Really good value units. The Skyray is a really interesting one because I think the Skyray is a concession to transports. So one thing that Tau hate is having to kill like toughness 9, toughness 10 transports and possibly losing the game because someone brought 6 Sagittars and they're like, I guess I win you on 5s and until I get lethals. Sorry, they didn't get lethals. So yeah, until they get sustained in the back end because it's not Moncars, they're not getting lethals. So they just really struggle with some higher toughness assets. So the Skyray, I think, really helps that out with the strength, the Seeker Missile Rack, 3 shots, strength 14 -3, las cannon damage, d6 +1, with a couple of rerolls here and there and more pluses to hit if your opponent can fly. So, think of things like, monoliths, stuff like that.
We're really seeing those. That's not even, that's not like a theory. Like, oh, what if? No. Like you, there's a very high chance you will see it.
Mm-hmm. And in addition, like if you just you need to kill a Sagittar or you're gonna get a 15-point swing, you need something like that in there. And I suppose they've taken the place of the hammerheads. The hammerheads used to be what was that asset for you. But I think the Skyray, I think he's onto it. I think the Skyray is a little bit more juicy. And I will say, this is a sneaky indirect army. There are a lot of indirect shots out of this. Triple Riptides and double Skyray can actually sit back and pick up like a unit of scouts every turn with their SMS.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's enough that you can't just assume you're going to live.
Okay, I buy.
Yeah. I mean, similar to I guess Chaos Knights right now, where you just have they only hit on 4s, but I've got 13 d6 of these things, and I can just spike, and you can just roll low. So can you bank on that one unit getting you 5 primary? You can't really set it in stone.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, on to the next list. This one I had to unpack.
You had to. You're compelled.
I was. This is being called the best list at the World Team Championship. So not for the singles so much, but this is being heralded as the best list in the team event that's coming up next. And he's playing the same list for the singles.
Heralded by who? Where does the statistic come from?
All the other WTC players that I've talked to, the people who are actually playing in the event, they're all like, man, I don't want to play that. Wow, I wish I was playing that, etc., etc. This is Olivier Weiss, who's playing for Team France this year. He's playing Black Templars or Righteous Crusaders. Got a Castellan with Tran Hughes' Bones, which will be meaning that if he chooses the right vow, the unit that he joins will be getting a 5-up Feel No Pain. Single Chaplain, Chaplain Grimaldus. In addition, you can also give 5-up Feel No Pain to its associated unit. Helbrecht, because whatever unit he joins gets crit 5s and just absolutely pops off. And then a Lone Op Lieutenant, one with combi weapon. 100 Primaris Crusaders. 5x20, 2x5 Scouts, and a nice healthy yikes.
I do like this. So this list actually is not this list, but a list similar in concept did really well at the ATC a couple of weeks ago.
Correct. Exactly right, my man. And this is just disgusting. So people in Pariah Nexus, when it came out, people were like, oh, Cull the Horde is going to, really invalidate a lot of the Horde lists. In addition, we saw nerfs to Unending Swarm. We saw nerfs to, Guard bringing back units. We saw nerfs to Green Tide. This is and has been the best Horde list since the changes. And I'm not sure everyone picked up on it in time because Blood Angels, Dark Angels, a couple of the Space Marines are just as good for different things. And they bring, Dark Angels, I suppose, is the tweener here between the super aggressive Blood Angels and the super, wound intensive horde based Black Templars, where they can do a bit of both. But this is just a lot of people are dropping things like their aggressor bricks, things like their things that will just like go in there and just blow up 20 Termagant Tormagons, 20 boys. This, I think, is just going to go straight through the meta. I just don't think there are many lists out there that do have what it takes to kill anywhere near enough of these Crusaders to not just get run over. And keep in mind, 2 or 3 of these can scout 6 as well of these Primaris Crusader units. Because if they don't have an attached character, they get to do their scout 6. So if it goes first, it just can kind of put you in jail and then score all the points.
I'm digging that.
I don't like it.
Nobody had answers. Like, there's no clear answer for this.
Yeah, in the current meta, when I look at the lists, like I look at Sisters, yeah. This runs over Sisters, man.
Oh,
yeah.
They've got a couple of
through this. There's no way.
Multi-melters and melter guns, and like, I do not care, mate. Do not care. I even have, every now and then I'm gonna make enough feel no pains to bounce a melter shot. That's gonna feel real bad. Real
That's
bad.
a good point. It's a real good point.
Yeah. I mean, you have so many models here as well, and different, because each one of these Primaris Crusader squads has 8 essentially scout bodies. In the neophytes, and they're going to take all the multi-melter shots. He's not putting him on the guys with the power fists, the initiates with the power fists that have the 3 up, and those guys are going to be the ones in cover as well, and they're going to have feel no pain, access to armor contempt, cover. If played correctly, I think this list can run over every other army in the meta.
Narcoman saying I need more Plague Marines. Yeah. If you perfectly line up like layers of close combat Plague Marines and shooting Plague Marines to do the Overwatch, and then they grind through, and you it would still be difficult.
Funny enough, Death Guard has some really cute things they can do against this list, because they can, ally in Nurgle Demons. This list does not love Nurglings, because giving -1 attack to those power fists just bottoms out their damage output. And you have also I think there's some access to minus objective control as well. I can't remember if the Nurgle Demons have access to that as well. But that's another way to contend with this.
Maybe see in the actual.
If you can't kill it, stop its ability to kill you and just outlive it. But there are some armies that can do that, but there aren't many.
But it's like that perfect thing. Like, yes, seeing this list, you can build something to fight it.
Correct.
But just having this list surprised on you, coming out of the shadows.
But yeah, exactly right. Who saw this coming? Saw this coming? Is absolutely wild. All right, gentlemen, time to pick some WTC winners.
Who picks first?
Paul, you can go first, mate.
Blood Angels. So, what was the cutoff for list submissions and rules updates and that kind of stuff? Are they current? Are they current over there?
So the FAQs that came out today, I will not be current.
I think it was
these lists were in
3 Sundays ago.
Yeah, these lists have been in for over a week.
I'm not changing my answer. I was just curious for y'all's benefit. I just wanted,
Yeah. So everything is Pariah Nexus release current, but not today. Not today current. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. With a 500 player event, TR's got to do what they got to do.
No, we have thoughts about this, but to sum up for anybody that may be new around here, is that for large events there is typically a moratorium on when they'll accept changes to rule systems, because it affects people's list, and sometimes it goes out to the complexity of people traveling and having to plan for like stuff, and they don't want to disrupt the fun of the people at their event, so they put the cutoff window in there.
Yeah, you got players traveling from all over the world for this. You gotta make sure they know what they're purchasing, what they're signing up for. Yeah,
we're making predictions, so we need all the information. That's why I'm asking.
I am picking Black Templars. I said this was the best. This was the best list at the event, and so I got to back that up. There's 3 Black Templars players at this event out of 500, and I'm picking Black Templars.
Nothing wrong with calling that shot.
This is my hill. Dustin, what would you like, brother?
I'll take T-Suns.
Yeah, I would. If I wasn't going to pick BT, it was going to be T-Suns. With Europe being so 1,000 Suns, just like, yeah, they're gonna do well.
Yeah, there we go. The next event we're going to be talking about is, of course, the WTC, the teams event. 320 players in 40 teams built from nations all around the world in teams of 8, competing over 7 rounds. It's going to be a lot of Warhammer going on over there.
It's going to be a lot. So there's going to be I've played in 3 of these now, twice representing my country, and it's just the greatest. It's the greatest. Going there with 8, sometimes you've got 12 people in your national team, you've got a couple of coaches, and just coming together as a team, brewing your list together, testing, perfecting, refining. It is one of the great experiences in 40K. And if you can't get to enjoy that, come to this event, sit back, watch, or consume whatever content you can online, because there is no event like this. Of course, there are events that are just as spectacular, just as incredible. But the way this brings people together, yeah, stupendous.
That's great to hear. What are we going to see?
So, again, in 40 different teams of 8, that means we're not going to see any list any more than 40 times. So I think we always say that's 50% or more, and that is considered one of the best armies in the game. And I think with the WTC, you could pretty much take that to the bank.
Gospel,
so, this is like gospel, exactly. All right, so here we go. Imperial Super Faction, there are 29 Sisters of Battle. No surprise there. 6 Custodes, 6 Admech, 11 Astra Militarum, 28 Grey Knights. Bam. That's another one, not surprised. And 2 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 2 Adeptus Astartes, 8 Dark Angels, 5 Space Wolves, 21 Blood Angels. Bam again. And then 4 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 17 Chaos Space Marines, 32 T-Suns. Oh, man. Predicted this. This is great.
Wow.
10 Death Guard, 10 World Eaters, 4 Demons, and 8 Chaos Knights Xenos. So there's 26 Necrons. So that's another big one up there. 10 Orcs, 19 Tau, almost hitting the 50% mark, but that's pretty close. 14 Votan. That's actually a higher number than I thought it was going to be. Highbind, there are 18 Tyranids, and this is the most painful thing I've had to say on this podcast to date. There is not a single Gene Stealer Cult player at the WTC.
Aw.
Pull one out, everybody.
No,
yep.
Not one. Not one. But there are a bunch in the singles, so I'll take it. Eldari, there are 11 Drakari and 18 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is technically Astartes topping it off. Every single team at WTC has taken Space Marines.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Next to that is
solid choice.
T-Suns at 32, then Sisters at 29, Grey Knights at 28, and then Necrons, which I think makes much more sense than World Leaders at the 5th spot here, being the 5th spot of the faction podium for the WTC. What do you think of that spread, guys?
Not surprised by most of it. Of course, Thousand Suns going to Thousand Sun in Europe. Sisters actually being less than Thousand Suns is surprising, but it is on trend for the singles as well, which it was the first and second was Thousand Suns and Sisters. No one's going to be surprised about Space Marines. In an 8-pack player, you are going to have a Space Marine sub-faction that fits your lineup and makes sense, be it an aggressive, a defensive, or a tweener. Grey Knights, once again, I mean, they bring so much to a team's event that I think they're always going to be taken in strong numbers. Necrons is an interesting one because I think there's a couple of different factions that you could have said could have been taken in similar numbers to Necrons. Tyranids comes to mind. Chaos Space Marines come to mind as well. In addition to, I mean, I suppose you could see a couple, and Tau was the other one I was going to say. But it's interesting to see what we traditionally would say the shooting army distribution. So then that would be Astra Militarum, Tau, and Votan now are the 3 kind of predominantly shooting-based factions. And seeing those numbers and how they line up against each other is actually a pretty interesting thing to unpack. Because I would have assumed it would have been, if I was to pick, it would have been overwhelmingly Tau was the choice there for your shooting value army. And of course, we know there's a distribution of tables. There's a pairings process that captains and teams are going to go through. And of course, there's going to be 2 light tables, 4 medium tables, and 2 heavy tables. And you always want to take an army in your lineup, possibly even 2, that really want to play, that really get extra value on those light tables. And then I think Tau, in my mind, is the one that will play on a medium better than Astra Militarum and Votan in my mind.
Because you get extra movement? Like, what
Correct.
Or some kind of tricks? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So you have one of the premium battle line clearing objective units that go through walls in breaches. You have jank and defensiveness in riptides and crisis suits and all the flexibility in whether you take hammerheads or on sky rays. But then they have the maneuverability. Everything moves pretty fast. A lot of things fly. The new pivot rules are really good for Tau, and so they maneuver around the medium tables a lot better than like a Lehman Russ or a Sagittar or a Hecaton. And this is pretty much where I'm getting at. I think they are more flexible to play deeper into the table pool than the other two shooting armies or traditional shooting armies.
I dig that.
So, yeah, and so that I would have put them higher, and the numbers do reflect that, but not by anywhere near as much as I thought. In fact, I'm quite surprised Tau didn't cross the 50% mark here, even though they're peeking over the fence at 19.
No, I can see that too. Actually, I've seen that a lot of the sisters lists with the bringers. They seem to be. They need a medium table, but they could do a light one because they have a lot of mobility. They do have some good range of the castigators and the sometimes exorcists, depending on what they're taking.
Well, they can just fall back on the fact that they have a lot of hulls that have invulns and miracle dice, and sometimes that can just get them through a light table versus a gun line.
Yeah, it turns out when you can manipulate dice rolls in a dice game, that's pretty good. So
when you can cheat. The other one I want to pull one out for, apart from Genes of the Occult, which is the only faction not represented at the WTC. So all 40 nations of the world decided GSC did not make a top 8 cut. Orcs. Orcs is the one I want to point at, because if we were doing this, if the WTC happened 5 weeks ago, I would have been shocked to not see like 40 orcs taken 40 times.
True.
And now they're taken by a quarter of the teams. So where are orcs at, boys?
I feel like they're playing a very specific role, and they can still do it in a couple different attachments, but it depends on what you have in your team comp already. You could either bring them with. You could still bring a horde with them. They're not going to be the same, though. I feel like if you're going to bring a horde, you might as well bring that Black Templar list if you can.
Correct.
But
the thing is, the Black Templar list costs you Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves to take it.
It does, yes. So if you would rather have that, then Orcs is one of those options to be able to do that, because they're probably one of the other ones that can do a horde list the best. Out of anybody else, I'm looking.
When you say cost you, that's something I think we've almost like subconsciously been factoring into some of our discussion, but we haven't necessarily called it out explicitly. Is that you can only represent one faction per player, or sorry, one team can use a faction once.
Yeah, correct,
and that includes any version of Space Marines.
Yeah, it's delineated by a codex. You get an instance of a codex once. So if you're taking Dark Angels, well, that works from the Space Marine codex. So you get one Space Marine, which pretty much means that's why there's 40 there. So there's very different lists within that 40 Adeptus Astartes, like extremely different versatile lists. Well, most of them being, having Death Company and, and stuff like that. But there's a lot of difference in there. But it comes under the same umbrella at a team event of this caliber.
Yeah.
What do we think about the medium, like the grindy lists, so to speak? Because a lot of teams do need to take a couple of grindy lists, and we talk about these as being more defensive lists that you can put up that will get points and not get dominated.
Or they'll sacrifice. Like they're not going to get a 20 most likely, because you'll put them into really much out there in harm's way, but they'll prevent the opponent that was planning on getting 20 from getting 20. Maybe that's enough to get your team over the hump.
Yeah, and I think that's where people are looking at Votann for a little bit different, because Votann actually grind really well because they've got above average toughness, and so they make a lot of different matchups awkward that wouldn't be as awkward into, say, Astra Militarum and or some of the other transport based or hull based lists. But they also bring pretty decent melee. Like they actually bring relevant melee assets that can be quite defensible in of themselves. Of course, being toughness 6 as well on the Hearthguard, and the Berserkers are just a bit of a house on WTC tables.
Yeah,
but I want to. Go.
I actually think that one of the best grindy lists or grindy factions you can take right now is Tyranids.
Yep. Oh, mate, take it away. Where are Tyranids at?
Well, they just have the potential, because they're one of those armies that if you build them right, I think a lot of them are going to be Invasion Fleet. There's going to be a couple of Vanguard in there, but I think Invasion is where most of them are leaning. There's some Synaptic maybe, and
well, just so happens, mate, I have the full detachment breakdown for this as well. So give me a moment and I'll tell you exactly how many and what the distribution is there.
Okay. I'm curious about that then. I know some of the high rated teams. I know what detachments they were taking. So I'm curious what the majority I feel like the majority will be Vanguard. That's my thought.
3.
Though I don't think that's the best choice.
Some very precise.
8, 8 out of 18 are Vanguard, my man. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 invasion fleets. We have 2 Crusher Stampedes.
Whoa,
that's good. That's not a choice, but it's
they
and
got
3
some buffs.
3 Synaptic.
And
3 Synaptic.
Yeah.
Well, the United States, Paul, has taken Crusher Stampede as their as their.
I think it's good. I do think it's really good. I think it's I don't think it's popular right now because I think that people are kind of like bringing all their preconceived notions maybe to what the word means, because the word's been in our vernacular for 2 decades, 3 decades now.
Yep.
And people have different perceptions of it, but I think it's a good list.
It is absolutely a good list. Crusher has a lot of play that a lot of people aren't going to be ready for. The simple fact that now they can walk through walls, like one of their users can walk through a wall, that's a big deal for Crusher.
It's huge.
That's a big deal.
Huge. But anyway, we're going to move on because, of course, as you know, we do have a couple of teams to unpack. I've only done one of these teams as unpacking the actual lists. I've done 2 teams where I've unpacked just their faction and detachment, because it just takes so long to go through 8 lists. And then once we've gone through 8 lists, to try and unpack them. But we're going to go through these one at a time. This is Team Poland, the reigning defending champions of the world at the WTC. They won in 2023. They start off with a Renegade Raiders of Chaos Space Marines. I did that the other way around, wrong way around. Apologies. A Batten, 2x3 Chaos Bikers. I do believe there's 10 cultists in here as well. And I will state it, if you're watching this for the first time, I do not put in every single unit in these breakdowns. I'm trying to put in enough here that we get an impression of what this list is trying to do and what its role is going to be in the team. So 3 Predator Destructors, 3 Vindicators, 10 Warp Talons, a Beast of Nurgle, and 6 Nurglings. I think we figured it out.
I think we figured it out.
Yeah.
I think you get it. So they're taking a DACA-based Chaos Space Marine list. It's pretty interesting as well, because I think this list is very good. The single, did I put in the Hellbrute? There's a single Hellbrute in here as well to give all
for those packs.
Yep.
Or the double packs. So lethal and sustained on all of these. And they can all pop off, especially got a Baden there to title together with some extra synergies as well. The single unit of 6 Nurglings is a little cute. I think it's a little cute. I think that's denoting that there are a couple of matchups where you're going to be going tit for tat on the deploying infiltrators, and you'd rather have one big infiltrating unit to screen out then go for one, and then they use a unit of scouts to block off where you put the others, and they still manage to get a bunch of pressure and aggression on you should you be playing into like Thunder Cav, Wolf Jail or something like that. So I think the 1 unit of 6 Nurglings is kind of cute. Some people were talking about the fact that it's got a number of wounds that crosses the threshold for Cull the Horde, meaning that if they've done it right, you can't auto cycle Cull the Horde. You have to keep it if you draw it, so you don't get to do the dredge roll. But someone told me that wasn't correct, so I don't want to say that's in gospel. Then we have a Grey Knights Teleport Strike Force, pretty much what you'd expect. Stern, though, who is playing a similar role to what Fuegan or the Phoenix Gem would play for Eldari, as in he gets up on death. So he can be a nice little just chuck him in reserve, deep strike him, get behind him in lines, engage on front, something like that, then die and get back up. 3 Grandmaster Dread Knights and 3 Dread Knights, a single Libby with 5 Terminators, 5 Interceptors, and 5 Strikes. Nothing surprising there. I suppose the only thing you could have done with this list other than that is trim the fat and take Canis, but I don't think that makes this list better because as soon as you play with Canis, your table selection gets a little bit narrower. So I do think this is just fine for playing into the field. In fact, these are the best players in the world, so who am I to say anything? 1,000 Souls, Cult of Magic, 2 Exalted Sorcerers on disc, 3 Infernal Masters, Magnus, and a regular Sorcerer, no Ahriman, 4x5 Rubrics, 2 Middle-earth Vortex Beasts, 2x10 Cultists, and 3 Zangor Enlightened. So pretty standard. Apart from Ahriman not being in here, everything else here is pretty by the by. The Vortex Beast being the new hotness for 1,000 Suns, try and play much more of have a bit of toughness now that they can't really kind of do the triple move all over the place and things like that.
They also look awesome.
They look fantastic. Well, the amount of, because Vortex Beasts are sold out pretty much across the world, sold out. So
they've had for a long time.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the G-Dub range is so deep. You can make a lot of things into a Vortex Mutilus Beast with a bit of elbow grease. Like Psychophages, I'm seeing Dustin being converted into Vortex Beast. They look sick.
Come on.
No. Hey, they were in the intro box for 10th edition. Yeah, so there's tons of them around there.
I know. I think I've got 6. I guess I have 3 and 3 Mutilus Beasts.
You got 3 Mutalisks, mate. Start your T-Suns army. Adeptus Mechanicus here, which is one of the spicy picks. There's two very spicy picks here by Team Poland. They've got a Skitarii Hunter cohort, Call, 2 Marshals, Techno-Archaeologist, 2x10 Vanguard, 223 Ballistari, and I will tell you, the big unit of Ballistari has autocannons, which is kind of spice.
Interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. 5/5/10 Skystalkers, 10/10/5 Sterilizers, so full of birds, and then 3 Dragoons. So I love this list. I think this is one of the sleeper lists of the meta at the moment, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and really excited to see how this one does.
Adeptus Mechanicus is a tough army to keep up with for many players. I mean, to be at the cutting edge of the meta with Adeptus Mechanicus, typically, like, just the meta of that is players don't not necessarily have a deep stack on their shelf of models they can just go grab, so they have to be acquired, built, and then put on the table. And I think that's why we see Adeptus Mechanicus having they'll peak out and then kind of go back, and it's like the real tide with them.
In addition, the amount of like expert Adeptus Mechanicus players is very narrow. There's only so few like dedicated Adeptus Mechanicus players. So when you want to prepare for this list, how do you find a player that can wield it into you where you get a relevant experience of what this list can do? And that's what they exactly right. You fly to Poland, you pay for a flight for Rickard Nielsen or the other 5 really, really top tier Adeptus Mechanicus players. Because that's what they're wielding here. They're wielding the unknown, and it's really powerful in this lineup. Next up, we have Adeptus Sororitas, Bringers of Flame. Not a lot. Actually, there is some spice here. Canoness with Jump Pack, Dialogus, and Triumph and Celestine. 2 Immolators, 2 Castigators, 2x10 Dominions, 2x3 Paragons, and 2x10 Seraphim. That is 2x3 Paragons with no Morven Val. There's no Morven Val in this list, and they're taking the Paragons just on the power of the data sheet. And I think that's really exciting to see, because that's brand new. That's brand new. No one would take a single unit of Paragons without Val. He's taking 2 without. So very spicy there. We have a Wolf Jail Stormlands Task Force of Space Wolves. Logan Grimnar, 3 Wolfguard Battle Leaders on Thunderwolves, a Wolf Lord on Thunderwolf, 3x5 Assault Intercessor with Jump Packs, 3x6 Thunderwolf Cav, a Vindicator, and 3x10 Wolfins. So remember the Forest list we talked about at the Palm Springs? When you're taking it in teams, who cares about scoring? Just lethality. Cut all the fat, get stuck in, no breaks, no chill. This is another one of their spicy lists. This is Necron's Awakened Dynasty. So not Canoptic Court and not Hypercrit.
I played against this recently. It is actually brutal. It has a lot of reliability, a lot of like subtle damage it can just throw out, and then you spend a lot of time killing one of the characters and like, oop, it's just back.
Whoop, back up. Yeah, this list has been. Well, of course, Team Poland, they're the team with the most eyes on them, being the reigning champs. And so a lot of people have been trying to unpack what this Necron list is here to do. And we have conjectured that it is here to beat Sisters. And we'll see if you guys can unpack it as well. Chronomancer, Illuminor Caesaris, Imotector Stormlord for the extra CP, of course. 2 Locust Lords, 2 Psychomancers, a Scorpec Lord, a Technomancer, then 10 Immortals, a single unit of 6 Wraiths to, of course, go with the Technomancer and have some durability in the middle of the board. 2 single destroyers, 3x3 heavy destroyers, and a Triarch Stalker.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, this is an interesting one because it's a Necron list that can all hide. A lot of it can go into reserve and bring good value to bear. A lot of it get attached characters. So in Awakened Dynasties, they get the plus to hit. And then, of course, there's just layers and layers and layers that go from there. So many characters as well. So many characters. You'd almost look at this list and be like, it's begging people to take Assassinate against it. But of course, that's going to be a huge trap. So yeah.
As long as you like killing everyone twice. I mean,
you got to kill them all twice, mate. And then lastly, here is the super spicy pick. So what's considered to be the best, 40k nation in the world the last 12 months are taking Custodes. There's only 6 teams have taken Custodes at this event, and the reigning defending champions are one of those. It's got a Blade Champ, it's a Shield Host attachment rather, Blade Champ and Valerian. One of the special characters there gives Armor of Contempt to the unit that he joins. 4 Custody Guard, a Sisters of Silence Rhino, which is literally the first time I've seen one of those this edition. 2 Caladius Grav Tanks, 2x4 Wardens, 2x4 Prosecutors, 2x3 Venatari, 2x4 Witch Seekers, Caria Draxus, and a Calidus Assassin. This is what we were talking about. Remember those grindy lists? Those, I'm just going to play and not get blown out. This is a very good list for that. And I think this is going to be. This is people are just going to be like, oh, I forgot what Custodes did. They were out of the collective lexicon of top tier lists. But what do you make of this 8-pack, gents, and what surprises you?
The Custode surprised me, and to be honest, the Space Wolf surprised me. Other than that, this is perfect. Like it's scary.
Yeah.
But I always say too, like when I Scary and I talk about this on our podcast, we say the exact same thing. It's 6 of the best lists, and the last 2 are your faction specialists, and that's what the Space Wolves and the Custodians are here to do.
Exactly right. But they've pivoted away from the known quantities of quite a few of their lists. Of course, the Grey Knights is pretty much what you expect. The Chaos Space Marines is not. The Chaos Space Marines is
That's
almost
true.
a guard list. It's almost a guard list where they're wielding like essentially 6 powerful hulls, 6 powerful tanks. And then you have the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is essentially if you do not have a faction specialist for Adeptus Mechanicus, you don't take them. So you've got to assume that is a gun player on a savage list. But yeah, the Space Wolves is really interesting because I mean, when you look at their 8-pack, there isn't an ultra aggressive savage pressure list in here, and so I'm assuming that's what they wanted. But why they went for Space Wolves over Blood Angels, who do essentially the same thing but on more different tables, essentially. Blood Angels are table agnostic.
That footprint, though, with the Space Wolves, it does let them play on at least 2 sets of the tables, I think, the mediums and the dense tables, but they can even do it on the light tables. Maybe it even benefits them. Maybe they can play on every single table. Those Thunderwolf Cavalry are 60 millimeter bases.
Like, gigantic. And so they can just, like you said, we're talking about Wolf Jail. They can just wall you off, contain you.
Yeah. And if they're playing against something that can't go through the buildings, like everywhere there's not a building, there could be a Space Wolf base.
Yep. And of course, it's in the Stormlands. So one of these units can be arriving from reserve turn 1 and putting the pressure on very early in the game. And then, they pivoted away from the norm with their Necrons as well. So the Necrons is playing pretty much, apart from the Triarch Stalker, everything here is a unit that goes through a wall. Everything is a unit that can arrive from reserve with some effectiveness, and everything is just a bunch of characters that can all be chucked out on objectives in the middle of the table, get your points, die, get back up, get you some more points. So I really like their 8-pack. Their 8-pack is extremely well crafted. But there are 2 more that we're going to be unpacking, and we do have to move on for the sake of time. The next up is Team USA, who are the runner. I believe, forgive me if I'm wrong, Team USA came second last year?
I think so, and been knocking on the door, consistently.
Yeah. The last couple of years have been
contender in my mind every year.
In a lot of people's minds, and I did ask a lot of teams who do they expect to win and who's their dark horse, and the 2 teams that were expected to podium, and this is just to put the pressure on, Poland and Team USA are 2 teams that are expected to, minimum hit that top 5. So in lieu, because you just saw how long it took us to break down 8 teams, we've just done the factions and the detachment when relevant. So we have a Kauyon of Tau Empire. We have World Eaters, Thousand Suns, Tyranids, Crush a freaking Stampede, as I mentioned before, a Dark Angels Gladius Task Force, so skewing the Blood Angels for the Gladius, for the Dark Angels. Orcs, Green Tide, boys. Green Tide. It's back. And then Adeptus Sororitas brings a Flame and a Ynnari Eldari list that has the Yinkan because Sean Naden's a madman.
Brings of Flame, I think, is incredibly strong. Green Tide, I think, is an interesting choice because of the fact of the secondaries that can be chosen against you. But I guess if you only present them with 1 set of secondaries, you are forcing your opponent to try to scramble to get
a second relevant
20% of their points, out of something else. And that means if you get ahead on points, they're going to stay ahead for the entire game. So
there's some very. When you're crafting an 8-pack, an 8-player team event, you want to be hitting all the extremes of the archetypes in some place in your 8-pack. Yeah. And so, I mean, essentially like Tau Empire, the Tyrannies list here, and the Dark Angels and the Sisters are all operating with a lot of high toughness transports and or tanks. So they're already hitting that skew already by taking the best armies for the occasion anyway. Eldari's hitting the MSU side of things, and somewhat T-Suns can also exist in that realm as well. And Sisters also tween into that MSU pile as well, with all the Dominions getting chopped up and all the jump pack Sisters. But so what do you want to take that's going to hit an amount of wounds that will just get you a win if paired appropriately? We saw France, which will be going through next, has gone with Space Marines as their one. And Team USA has decided we want a Horde list in our lineup because we just think that if we pair well, the Horde can't get run over, and they've gone for the Green Tide. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, because like we said, they had the Dark Angels. They couldn't do the Black Templars, and Orcs is the next natural choice for that, right? That's just what it is.
Totally agree.
I think it's great. And
I'm surprised there's no Chaos Space Marines in here.
Yeah, well, so I suppose that's the concession. They've got what people consider the best World Eaters player in the world, in the gentleman playing the World Eaters.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. I think the World Eaters is the only one it's the choice that's hard to swallow until you realize, oh, actually, there's very few people that I think synergize with an army more than Anthony and World Eaters from what I've seen. So
exactly right. Well, and this is one thing I like about Team USA, which they may not necessarily have done in the past. When you have faction specialists, you back them.
Yep. 100%.
Like if we have the best player in the world on a faction, even at the highest level, we're going to back our guy and let them pick, craft, and play with their faction.
And best, like what you're referring to, is also knows in and out, but wins with it, like competes, you know, with that, even when the meta is in a radically different direction.
Exactly.
Agreed. And they've done the same with their Orcs player. Their Orcs player is, of course, Lucas Troller, who's an extreme greenskin specialist. And so you back your guy, you back your player. If they were good enough to be picked for the team, well, they earned their way onto the team playing that faction. So why wouldn't you back them at the highest level? Why would you pivot them away? Yeah. Anyway, we got one more team to unpack, and this is Team France. And somewhat I'm putting Team France up here because they've been considered by many other nations in the field to have constructed the 8 best lineup, the lineup of the 8 best when it all comes together. Oh, have I not Control C, Control V there? I have not.
Right. It looks exactly the same as Team USA for anybody.
Yeah, but it's better.
Great minds. Yeah, great.
It's identical. Wow, it's crazy.
It should be updated right now. Just let me resize it. There we go.
I don't know how to reset it from my end.
It's good.
You're gonna do it here.
Anyway, I'll start reading it out.
You read it out. I'm gonna fix it. It's only the people that are trying to look at it.
So I definitely know the Team Australian players who, you know, I mix with, consider Team France to have the best 8-pack lineup of factions and whatnot. With one I think is debatable, but they have Thousand Suns, they have a Hypercrypt of Necrons, they have Death Guard, they have a Ynnari Eldari list, they have Renegade Raiders, Chaos Space Marines, Astra Militarum, Righteous Crusaders, Black Templars, and a list of Grey Knights. So pretty much all the major food groups, and of course the Righteous Crusaders list is the one we unpacked from Olivier with the 100 Crusaders in there, but outside that, the only one here that jumps out to me as maybe there was a better pick is Death Guard, and I'm gonna assume they've got a faction specialist on it of a certain caliber, who is a worthy take at such a level. But what do we see here, boys?
I see craziness, but I love it. Like it's the same thing. The Death Guard is the only one there. I'm like questioning, but I have no.
Well, it's the only one there that I could argue there's possibly a pick that does something similar, but it could be that because of the Chaos Space Marines list that they're taking, because of the fact that I think they've got a hell of a lot of Bullgrid in their Astra Militarum list, the Death Guard puts them over the top into the merely grindy archetypes.
This is their grind list for sure.
You can blunt list. I mean, again, earlier we were talking about if you get that list that they're putting into you because they think you're going to get 20. They're used to fighting that, and they're going to get the 20. You keep them to a 15 or 11 or something on a good day, then you've thrown their whole team, the opponent's team, out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because of course the scoring for the WTC is the 20-0 system. So when you start, each player starts at 10-10. It's a draw when you start the game, and then every 5-point increment that you are above your opponent, your score goes up by 1, their score goes down by 1. So if I win by 6 points, that's an 11-9 to me, so on. So you have to win by like 51 points to get the max point 20-0, and which is it's very hard to do in Pariah Nexus to get max point wins. I would say that the duality that I love, that I'm seeing a lot in a lot of the top armies, the top teams, is Hypercrypt with Grey Knights. It's so hard to get 2 lists that'll shut down all those shenanigans and pair them into those lists. One of them is going to get away with it. One of them is just going to be able to jump around, score every point, and blow you up in the process. And I love having both of those in your lineups. I'm dreading Games Workshop bringing out another faction or 2 that has the same pick up put down mechanics, and we end up with like 4 or 5 of those lists.
Have teams turning them on the table. They're refreshed because they don't have to move models around as much as the opponent.
Yeah. Well, imagine casting that, Paul. And he's picked up half his army. And he picked up half his army too.
Yeah.
Now it's his turn. Half his army just got picked up. I wonder what he's going to pick up. Oh, half his army. Yeah. It's just a funny time at the office. But yeah, amazing 8-pack by France. Of course, they've got the Olympics going on right now, so that's another reason I wanted to give you guys Team France shout out. Go watch some Olympic goodness while the regular athletes are playing. The special athletes is coming next week. The 40K athletes.
Yeah, athletes.
So at these events, so as you can tell, everybody listening, we haven't been able to really break down all the teams. There's a lot of complexity in this. So our predictions for team events are we pick the faction we think is going to have the highest battle point score over the course of the entire weekend.
It is a hard thing to pick. I'm going to go first because I didn't go first last time. I'm going to T-Sons.
That's actually what I was going to pick.
It is a hard thing. I know exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah. That was I was going to say that as well. I think that is a strong pick.
That is a very strong pick.
All right. Dustin, you can go second.
I am actually going to go a different route than you. I'm going to say Black Templar.
Ooh, do it, mate. Do it. Paul, what would you like?
I mean, that's a good prediction. It's a kind of a long favorite. I think to get there. Man, this is tough. This is tough now.
And the reason it's tough is because there's going to be an absolute juggernaut faction specialist, further down the team seeds, that's just going to roll through.
I'll go Adeptus Sortas again.
That's a good pick.
Yeah. I mean, playing weighted numbers, but also they're just really good.
And they play into everything. Yeah. They're one of the factions in the game that plays into everything. That can get a win versus every other.
And that's kind of why I'm a little bit hesitant, because I think that they'll be, I don't want to say thrown into the wolves, but they'll be definitely tossed out a lot, and we'll be happy with the points that they get. They'll get a win, but they won't get max wins, and that's why I'm a little hesitant. Maybe across the board, we'll see.
Very fair. Gents, that brings us to the end of the coverage of the WTC, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
Well, I think that this is one we'll definitely be looking back at in our part 2 that we cover on our Patreon. So look, if you're looking for a way to support the show, Patreon is one of those ways that you can do that. And if it's tier 2 or higher, we actually do a look back show where we talk about our predictions, talk about the results. We also, bring you some highlights from what people are actually taking there that did well or did a lot better than maybe we were expecting to do. And it's another little bit of content hanging out with us each and every week.
Hell yeah. We might be taking a week or two off. Of course, I'm going to be over at the World Team Championships. I'm heading off literally in about 12 hours. I'm going to be jumping on a plane over Belgium.
Means working harder in person.
Yeah.
Yes. Every I'll be streaming War Games live. Please come and check it out. Me and Joe putting our little band back together. So every we're going to be covering every round of the War Master singles and every round of the WTC. So please come over and check it. In addition,
it's going to be amazing.
If you want to listen in your, in your native language, that should be an option for the vast majority. I believe there's about 8 or 9 different linguistic specific streams going. So, support your local streamer because they've gone through a lot of effort to get themselves over there for Belgium. Probably put up thousands and thousands of dollars.
Look forward to that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But we're not done yet. We have a little section here at the end of the show where we have a little palate cleanser.
Yeah,
It sometimes has very little to do with 40K. We don't know, but sometimes they're themed, sometimes they're not. But we give ourselves a series of topics to run down. We give some extremely spicy, fiery takes with these, and we do it on a clock. And once that clock is stopped, we abandon the topic, never to return to it again, unless, of course, demanded by the Patreon subscribers.
What do we got, Dustin?
This will be, because we were waiting for yeah, we were waiting for Paul to come back, so I needed to make sure we skipped this one twice to make sure he could be part of this.
Oh, thank y'all so much.
This is some Marvel theme to celebrate the new Deadpool movie, which Paul has already seen. I haven't. I don't know if Adam has yet.
I haven't yet either.
My wife.
Oh, no spoiler. I will not give any spoilers, no matter what the question
is. Don't you dare! All I've heard is good things, and that's from people just talking on the street. I don't even look at social media right now. I'm trying to avoid it at all costs, but I'm really looking forward to it. But these are some Marvel questions to kind of get us in the mood, and let's get started. The first one is, which X-Men has never been a villain, but should be?
That's a good one.
They even made Beast a villain. Apparently, he was like a really
Really?
evil villain
I was
too.
actually going to say Beast.
Well, somebody beat you to that.
Well, I got to watch it or read it then.
Do we mean in the MCU in the films?
No, I mean in general. Either or. If you can figure it out.
I was going to say film wise, I want Mr. Sinister.
I think which X-Men has never been a villain but should be.
Oh,
like has never played the part of the role of a villain in the story or whatever. I think that's what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah. Still Mr. Sinister.
Yeah. Perspective is important.
He's literally the worst. He's like worse than Apocalypse, worse than freaking everybody. Who's I want to say Xavier, like Dark Xavier.
There has to be an arc that he's been a villain.
That's a good. So I mean, there's been arcs where aspects of him have been the villain, or where he's been considered the villain, but I don't know if he's ever been the villain, like the actual villain.
Yeah, I would like to see a Xavier that has lost hope, and I would like to see a role reversal of him and Magneto, where Magneto is like operating on the side of good, and Xavier's like, no, this needs to end. La da 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 da.
No
because
way is that
Xavier.
No way is that not
Xavier is ostensibly like one of the top tier power wise mutants in existence that's ever existed. There's only like 2 or 3 that you could say, like Phoenix, Apocalypse, and a couple of others you say that is like as powerful. So I'd love to see what has to happen to stop like a Dark Xavier.
So I'm gonna go as far as like should be. I don't think this should be, but if it turned into a story, it'd be awesome. Cool. Say Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Dorian shouted that out in chat as well. Nightcrawler would be sick.
Oh yeah.
I actually, this might be crazy to think too, but I actually think a really good villain because of the powers would be Iceman.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Agreed.
I see what you did there. Next one. Which Marvel villain has never been a hero but should be? So
you can say Mr. Sinister now if you want.
Now you can say Mr. No, there's no way he can.
You can never be considered a good guy. I think that's the point.
Never been a hero but should be. Which Marvel villain has never been a hero but should be?
Marvel villain.
So Doctor Doom is I think if you're telling the story from his perspective, he is always in his mind the hero.
Never done anything wrong.
Yeah.
No.
Like just but I could get behind Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I can get behind Doctor Doom.
Yeah, Doctor Doom makes sense too, for sure.
I'd love to see a good guy Galactus.
Whoa, how would that even work?
You build the story that he's destroying worlds in the hope of like saving people from a worse fate or something or other. I don't know. But
I don't think he's a villain. I think that it's so just beyond the comprehension of like us. Like it's a villain to us in much, like we're the villain to ants,
But a Galactus, like, well, if you just describe Galactus as like a force of nature, there is no moral ambiguity there. It just does. Galactus just does what it was built, meant, evolved to do, created to do. So I think that's a point you can come at it for sure. That could be cool.
Okay, yeah, I'm with that too.
They did Life Giver Galactus recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. There you go. I mean, with the wibbly wobbly ridiculousness of Marvel,
it's tough for us to weave in to find one that hasn't been done in the 100 years of storytelling. But
yeah, I ain't quite up to date with the 100 million different story arcs.
But it's good to know these things because now I can actually go and look it up and read it. So
Thanos,
comic book Thanos and MCU Thanos are very different beasts.
True.
Yeah.
So and MCU Thanos, you could almost see. They did him so well, you could see it from his point of view.
In Annihilation, Thanos was actually trying to do the right thing, and that's when Drax stabs him. It's like, it's such a cool frame, but I don't know if that counts him as being a hero. But
Kang the Conqueror, that's a pretty good call out as well.
Kang, I like Kang. Yeah, that's
a call. And that's very easy as well because there's got to be a version of Kang that's good. That's good. Just like altruistic.
There is a version of Kang that's in the Young Avengers, I think.
Okay.
There you go.
But Kang has a million different.
100 billion. Yeah.
All right. Next up, who should play the Fantastic Four in the ideal adaptation of the team on screen? Ideal.
Like I'm starting to be hopeful about this version of the Fantastic Four, because my God, is the Fantastic Four just proven to be the one they can't launch? Like, what is this? Is this the fourth go at making a Fantastic Four movie? And they've all been absolutely
technically fourth, but the first one that did. If you're counting the original first one,
no, that doesn't count. So let's say 3.
They've all been so bad.
Now, I think Josh Brolin could play every single one of the first family of.
The Invisible Girl.
Yeah. I mean, he's very talented. He's very talented. I'm only mean like sloppy sarcastic. Like, I think he's very talented.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely see him as a thing, for sure.
Ooh. So back in the day, if we're going to go actors in their prime,
of all time, let's do it that way. Of all time, if you have an idea, you tell us.
Oh, Michael J. Fox is as Johnny Storm,
Human Torch. Yeah. 100%. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Really?
Oh, really?
Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox. Absolutely. Because he was always like fiery, ready to throw down. Don't call me Yeller. All this stuff, and like, perfect.
Okay.
I
don't know if he had the look for it though. He was a little short, wasn't he? Johnny Storm was supposed to be a little.
Yeah, you get away with it though, because it's peak Michael J. Fox.
Tom Cruise
I would
is
like to throw out
barely 3 apples high, from what I understand, and then
That's true.
he's super action star.
Benedict Cumberbatch for Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like that one because he doesn't even just say anything. You just look at him, you're like, that guy's intelligent.
That's true.
Look at the size of that forehead. That guy, he knows stuff.
Stuff.
Big old melon. Cary Grant. Oh, that is a shout, my man.
Cary Grant.
That is good.
I actually don't even know who is that.
Really?
Yeah.
One of the greatest actors of all time. Classic cinema. Like black and white Cary Grant. You really don't know?
Why can't I? Give me a movie.
I will. Casablanca.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Die Hard era Bruce Willis is the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the thing. Yeah. Okay. I like that a lot.
Okay.
Actually, that's fantastic.
We're gonna get a pretty good movie here, boys. I think we should pitch it.
Oh, you guys still hear me?
Yeah. You're still here.
I just knocked my microphone and it went weird. Who's gonna play the Invisible Girl, Invisible Woman?
Is it the Invisible Girl or Invisible Woman in the comics? I actually don't know. That's a serious question.
Invisible Girl is what it starts, I think, and then
Invisible Woman's is far better, I believe. But yeah, who's like? I mean, Liv Tyler, like.
Ooh, actually,
yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah, I like Liv. I like Liv Tyler.
I like Liv Tyler.
Oh, Casablanca's Bogart. My apologies, gentlemen.
Okay.
People are just raging at me right now.
All right, wait a minute. Okay, who is this Cary Grant?
North by Northwest, Charade, Catch a Thief, Operation Petticoat. Yeah, that's a good one right there.
I don't think I've seen that.
Monkey Business. That's actually a very good one.
Okay, yeah, familiar with that. Yep. You can wiki it later.
The original Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Devil in the Deep.
That's much better than the guy from Casablanca. I wikied a picture of him. That make it quicker.
Hot Saturday, Madam Butterfly.
That's much better. Okay.
Yeah, I think Cary Grant's a great shout.
Yep, that's a good one. I like that a lot. All right, we figured out the ultimate team for that one.
We did.
Next one. Which character would be most likely to break the fourth wall in 40K?
Magnus.
Yeah, he literally did. He literally
like
did it. He did it. Actually did it. That's fantastic. Evil, true evil wise. Shout out to Dracnian. End of Empires. Yeah.
Probably a Skaven character. So
in 40K.
I didn't stutter.
Good call.
You're right. I did forget that, but I was answering the question first.
Yeah. Who else? I mean, if we're going to do AOS, certainly it's got to be one of the Slan, right?
Oh, a Slan? Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to communicate with the old ones, being like, what do I do now? And just kind of breaks the fourth wall. The Hive Mind. It's a good fourth wall break right there.
That's like
I can see
everybody
that.
else. Okay, yeah, okay. That's that feels a
Character
little.
wise.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, like what? The Doom of Malatai then?
Yeah, that
Probably
could be.
Eldrad.
Eldrad makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Eldrad does make sense.
Just turn to the reader and be like, they thought it was going to work out that way, but it did not work out that way. It actually is going to turn out like.
I've always been of the opinion that Eldrad has Morgan Freeman's voice.
Wait, there you go.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now,
he's the actual
great.
narrator.
Now I'm never going to picture anything else. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Yeah. No, I just ruined it for everybody.
Completely ruined. That's it.
I reckon that's us done.
We've solved all these.
We solved that. All right, last one. Which 40K character who would most belong in the Marvel universe?
I mean, well, Russ is just Thor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit boring. It's a bit of a boring choice.
Just taking somebody else's spot, though. We're talking like somebody that would go in there with their own shtick and be like, "Yeah, I belong here."
Sly Marmo.
Oh, yes. Even though he's
we just get
we just Sylvester Stallone just cast in.
It's Rambo.
Yeah,
Rambo shows up in the Marvel universe. I mean, I'd be down. I wouldn't complain about it. I don't know if John Rambo has a place there.
There's a whole street level Marvel side of things. You got Punisher, Daredevil.
That's true.
Like all
that.
those.
There is. Yeah.
He's kind of taken the Punisher's spot.
I like that terminology as well. Street level Marvel.
Street level Marvel. That's I like that. Paul knows what he's talking about when he's talking about Marvel. That's why we need to make sure he's here for the Marvel questions.
That's right. We got to kick cans.
Thank you for the confidence. 40K character most belongs in the most so there is there's a cosmic section of Marvel too, like Annihilus might as well be like a Primarch level, like Abaddon 13th Crusade type character.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
So I could definitely see Abaddon like launching an assault on the Marvel universe.
That'd be cool.
That would be very cool.
Or like the Tyranids in general. So
Tyranids,
yeah. I mean, there has been Aliens versus like Marvel.
The Brood are similar to Aliens, which are of course similar, at least in our minds, to some of these other creatures. So there's a possibility for that too. Like once you go cosmic,
just Dorian just said corn.
Throw Dorn in there.
Yeah, I love that.
They do get kind of crazy like that. They'll be like, "There's this new plane of existence, and it has this beast, and that's now super important."
That's true. They could introduce the warp.
I'm gonna shout out Gazgul Thraka.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
I like him. I like that one. Yeah, Gazgul versus the Hulk. Let's go.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That would be an amazing movie.
And the Juggernaut, in there as well.
Oh yeah, there we go. That'd be another good movie. Put that as the sequel to the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
the next one after that in the Marvel universe. Good, nailed it. That is all of them.
Oh, what a show this week!
Absolutely, what a show.
Talking about some great tournaments, and we may be having a couple weeks off. We might try to stitch something together. We'll see, but we certainly with everyone traveling. Thank you for your patience with us. If you've made it this far, please don't forget to give us those thumbs up and the like, share, and subscribe. That means a lot. That'll hold us over. That holds you all over until we get back to our normal schedule. But it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out and talking about Warhammer 40K and the biggest and best tournaments coming up with y'all. I'm at Gen Con right now, if I didn't mention that. Crazy. And been down there talking about games and stuff with folks. Cannot wait to get back down there and be doing it this weekend. If you're in the area and listen to us, come by the Games Workshop booth and say what's up. I would love to say hello.
Beautiful.
Go visit him.
Please.
Don't
jump
get mad at
in.
him for being tired because he was here with us. That we were the reason.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Please jump in and enjoy your WTC coverage in addition. Hope to see you in all the chats.
Like you mentioned,
Spruiking,
find
sporting.
those languages, especially if you are,
Yes.
prefer in a different in there. There's lots of different, or just want to see a different game. Like jump around and
Yeah.
support all those people that are over there trying to bring you that coverage because it is important to do it. And every time you do it, it's going to make their heart grow just a little bit bigger.
Agreed.
We'll see y'all soon, everybody. Have a good night.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.